There comes a moment in every strategic life when silence becomes more than a choice. It becomes a weapon sharpened by patience, restraint, and absolute clarity. Power is never built on noise. It is built on timing, on the ability to watch every man reveal himself while you reveal nothing. Those who rush to speak believe that words grant control, but history shows the opposite. Words expose. Words betray. Words scatter your influence like dust in the wind. In a world hungry for reaction, silence is the last form of dominance no one knows how to fight. And this is where the true teachings attributed to Machiavelli take shape. For he understood that silence is not emptiness, but a battlefield where only the disciplined survive. The man who speaks first is already behind. The man who stays still commands the room long before opening his mouth. Imagine walking through a world where every expression is calculated, every breath is measured, and every conversation is a test crafted to map your weaknesses. Most men fail these tests because they talk just to prove they exist. They confess their motives without realizing it. They reveal their fears without noticing the tremor in their voice. They expose their ambitions every time they try to impress someone who is not even watching. But the strategist who remains silent forces others to confront their own uncertainty. They question themselves, their moves, their intentions, all because your silence becomes a mirror reflecting the doubts they try to hide. And while they crumble beneath their own imagination, you rise without lifting a finger. Because silence, when controlled, bends the world around you. There is a dangerous truth about human nature. Most people speak not to communicate, but to relieve the discomfort of their own minds. They fear the void, the quiet, the spaces where thoughts echo too loudly. That fear drives them to fill the air with anything opinions, excuses, confessions, emotional leaks, anything to avoid facing themselves. And that is why silence becomes your greatest ally. When you refuse to fill the space, others will rush to do it for you. They will overshare. They will slip. They will reveal fractures in their confidence and gaps in their strategy. They will expose alliances they shouldn't have, insecurities they thought were hidden, desires they never intended to confess. Your quiet presence becomes pressure, tightening around them until they burst. This is why the silent man always walks away with more information than he gives, with more leverage than he offers, with more authority than he claims. Most men destroy their influence because they believe conversations are competitions of volume and speed. They rush to respond. They rush to defend. They rush to clarify. They rush to win small arguments that cost them larger wars. They sacrifice strategy for ego. They trade power for temporary validation. But a mind trained under Machiavellian discipline knows better. The goal is not to answer quickly, but to choose when answering benefits you. It is not to defend yourself, but to let your silence create uncertainty. It is not to prove something, but to observe everything. Because when you remove the impulse to react, the world slows down. Patterns become clear. Intentions reveal themselves. And suddenly, every conversation becomes a chessboard where you see 10 moves ahead while others are still choosing their pieces. Silence becomes even more powerful when fools try to provoke you, because provocation is never about truth. It is about fishing for your reaction. The moment you react, you hand them a map of your emotional landscape. You show them where the walls are weak, where the doors are unlocked, where the triggers lie buried beneath your composure. And once they learn those routes, they will return to them every time they want control. But when your silence meets provocation with an unshakable stillness, something frightening happens inside the provocateur. Without your reaction, their strategy collapses. Their confidence falters. They try harder, louder, more desperately. They reveal their intentions, insecurities, and hidden resentments with each failed attempt to make you break. And while they unravel in front of you, your silence stands tall like a fortress they cannot breach. The man who cannot be provoked is the man no one can manipulate. Silence also guards you from the most seductive danger in human interaction: excessive flattery. Praise can be more poisonous than insults because it sneaks past your defenses disguised as kindness. Most men melt when they hear what their ego is hungry for. They start talking. They reveal their plans. They expose their doubts. They confess their ambitions. All because someone made them feel admired. But the silent strategist does not fall for this trick. He hears flattery and lets it pass through him like wind through an empty corridor. He watches the flatterer instead of believing him. And as the manipulator keeps talking, trying to unlock your trust, he eventually exposes what he truly wants. Your silence forces him to reveal his hand. Your stillness robs him of the leverage he thought he had. In a world where everyone is eager to be validated, the man unmoved by praise becomes untouchable. There are moments in life when silence is not just wise, but necessary for survival, especially when you are new to a room where power has already chosen its favorites. In such a room, every word is a signal, every sentence an admission, every attempt to impress a revelation of insecurity. Men who have ruled that space long before your arrival are not listening to you for brilliance. They are listening for weakness. They are searching for cracks in your confidence, flaws in your reasoning, signs of desperation in the tone of your voice. The more you talk, the more you give them. But when you enter that room like a ghost present, observant, unreadable, you deny them the map they are trying to draw. Power respects what it cannot define. Influence grows around what it cannot predict. Your silence becomes a cloak that shields your ambition while you study the room quietly. Who leads? Who follows? Who pretends? Who obeys? And while others speak to be noticed, you watch to understand. Understanding, not attention, is the true currency of dominance. There is also danger in speaking when you do not fully understand the terrain you stand on. Most men fear appearing uninformed, so they rush to speak even when clarity hasn't reached them. But this rush gives away more than they realize. It shows impulsiveness. It shows the fragility of their confidence. It shows that their mind runs faster than their wisdom. Silence, on the other hand, gives you space to analyze without pressure. It allows the fog to lift. It reveals alliances, hidden motives, unspoken tension. The man who listens sees patterns that the talker never will. He hears contradictions that others miss. He notices shifts in tone, small reactions, subtle power exchanges. By the time he finally chooses to speak, if he decides to speak at all, his words land with precision, with intention, with influence earned through restraint. Speaking without understanding is stumbling into battle blind. But silence gives you vision, and vision is the advantage that determines who wins before the fight even begins. There is a shadow that moves quietly through social circles, workplaces, alliances, and friendships. Gossip. It masquerades as intimacy, as trust, as inclusion. It whispers secrets that were never meant to be shared and invites you to join the dance of cowards, who speak boldly only when their target is not in the room. Most men fall into this trap because gossip feels like a shortcut to belonging. They lean in, they comment, they add a sentence too many, believing it will make them seem clever or connected. But every word spoken in the presence of a gossip is a seed planted in poisoned soil, ready to sprout against you later. The one who brings you another man's secrets will carry yours twice as far. And once you join the conversation, even with the smallest remark, your reputation becomes tied to the whispering that destroys kingdoms from within. But silence in the presence of gossip is a declaration of strength. It signals that your loyalty is not cheap, that your mouth is not for rent, that your mind is not swayed by petty dramas. Silence shields you from becoming a pawn in someone else's manipulation. It tells the room that you are a vault, not a leak. And in the world of power, a silent vault is worth more than a loud sword. There is a more dangerous trap than gossip, one crafted with precision by those who thrive on emotional chaos: provocation. A man who tries to provoke you is not searching for truth, nor fairness, nor resolution. He wants control. He wants to see you lose the composure he knows you treasure. He wants you reactive, loud, exposed. The moment you respond with anger, frustration, or emotional noise, you surrender the high ground. You reveal what hurts you, what angests you, what destabilizes you. But silence in the face of provocation is a blade sharper than any insult. It cuts the manipulator without you lifting a hand. Your stillness unsettles him, makes him question himself, makes him escalate until he exposes his own instability. The more he tries to break you, the more obvious his intentions become to those watching. And while he falls apart in noise, you remain a fortress of calm. A man who cannot be provoked is a man who cannot be controlled. And power always gravitates toward the one who holds his inner throne with unshakable silence. Silence becomes even more essential when ambition burns inside you, because nothing sabotages a rising strategist faster than revealing a plan too early. Most men fail here. They talk about their goals before they have momentum. They announce their schemes before they have leverage. They reveal their next moves before the board is even set. They speak out of pride, out of excitement, out of the hunger to appear intelligent or visionary. But the moment a plan is spoken aloud, it becomes a target. People begin to interfere, to doubt, to criticize, to imitate, to sabotage. Enemies gain time to build defenses. Competitors gain insight into your direction. Even allies begin shaping your plan into something that serves them more than it serves you. But the strategist who stays silent moves like a shadow across the battlefield. No one prepares for what they cannot see. No one counterattacks what they do not know is coming. And when the results finally appear, they seem sudden, unstoppable, inevitable. Silence protects your future from the hands of those who cannot wait to shape it. It keeps your blueprint locked where no thief, no rival, no manipulator can reach. Plans spoken loudly die early, but plans protected by silence conquer without resistance. And then there is the final form of silence, the kind that unsettles everyone in the room without you doing anything at all. When a man chooses silence deliberately, not out of fear but out of power, something shifts in the atmosphere. People expect noise. They expect reactions, explanations, defenses, clarifications. When you give them nothing, their minds begin to work against them. They project their insecurities onto your quiet. They imagine intentions, strategies, judgments that may not even exist. Your silence becomes a canvas onto which their fears paint themselves in vivid detail. They grow uneasy, unsure, cautious. They begin second-guessing their own behavior, their own words, their own position. And in that uncertainty, your influence grows without effort. Silence in negotiation forces the other side to reveal more than they intended. Silence in confrontation makes your opponent doubt the strength of their attack. Silence in leadership makes your presence heavier, your decisions more respected, your voice more valuable when you finally choose to use it. The man who masters this final form does not chase authority. Authority bends toward him. In a world addicted to noise, your silence becomes the thunder they never saw coming. But silence is not merely the absence of speech. It is a deliberate act of power, a discipline sharpened in a world where everyone else is leaking their strategy with every breath. When you refuse to react, you train your mind to rise above impulses that enslave weaker men. When you refuse to explain yourself, you force others to sit with their assumptions. And assumptions are often more frightening than truth. When you refuse to reveal your intentions, you move through life unbound, unpredictable, impossible to corner. Every moment you stay silent while others rush to speak widens the distance between their vulnerability and your control. They expose themselves, you fortify yourself. They show their hand, you keep yours hidden. They drown in their need to be understood. You ascend through the strength of being unreadable. Silence is not retreat. It is preparation. It is the sharpening of your blade in the shadows, while others exhaust themselves in the light. It is the space where your strategy breathes, grows, and strengthens before the world realizes it exists. And this is the ultimate truth behind every Machiavellian lesson on silence. The world respects what it cannot measure. Men fear what they cannot predict. Opponents hesitate before what they cannot read. Your silence becomes a fortress, a mask, a throne. It protects your reputation, safeguards your plans, conceals your emotions, and amplifies your presence. It transforms you from someone reacting to the world into someone the world reacts to. And every time you choose silence over impulse, restraint over reaction, strategy over pride, you carve deeper into the identity of a man who rules without noise. So the next time you feel tempted to defend yourself to a fool, reveal your excitement to a flatterer, expose your emotions to a provocateur, or announce your ambitions to an audience that has not earned that privilege, remember this: power belongs not to the loud, but to the disciplined. Words can betray you. Reactions can enslave you. But silence builds empires from the shadows. And the man who learns to wield does not need to raise his voice for the world to listen. If you're ready to take these strategies beyond theory, check the pinned comment. The link I left there is the next step to becoming truly untouchable.